This is Smart Marketing Show, episode number 187. Product marketing means being top of mind all the time. Brought to you by ServerPress, Maker's Desktop Server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at serverpress.com. I'm Jason Tucker. I'm an IT director and web developer. You can find me at Jason Tucker on Twitter. This is my friend Bridget Willard. She's a marketing consultant. You can find her at Bridget M. Willard on Twitter. Subscribe to us as a podcast. Leave us a review. You can do so over on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, even Spotify. Speaking of which, reviews and ratings really help us out, especially over on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't subscribed to us for a minute. Leave us a quick little review. And then after that, you can unsubscribe and use Overcast or whatever it is that you're using. But for whatever reason, Apple Podcasts, well, I know for a reason, Apple Podcasts is the place to be. And the vast majority of people that listen to podcasts are listening to them over on Apple Podcasts. So yeah, if you're a nerdy person like me who uses some other app, take a minute, go through, subscribe to a couple podcasts that you listen to from that other app, and leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it.
So I started listening to this podcast about basketball that my sister recommended. It's called Round Ball Pod. And it's two comedians who are total basketball nerds. And it's so fun because at the beginning, it's all like Saturday Night Live, right? Live from da-da-da-da, and our guest stars, and for Patreon. So I did the $5 a month because it'll do like, and da-da-da, and Bridget Willard, thanks for being on Patreon. And it's so fun. And they're like, and tonight's guest host is Joey Devine. It's really, it's so funny, and we're all like, oh, there's their names. Thanks for joining us. But we're not comedians. I mean, I'm the funny sidekick, but I just thought, that was a really clever way of, rewarding your Patreons. And I like and so I did. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go review them.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to listen to more podcasts and stuff, because the thing is that when you create, if you don't consume, all of a sudden you're just dried up, right? And then you forget things and you're not participating, and you get in your own world and your own funk. And this is what happens with brands. So brands are doing their own thing. They did that initial push. They got everybody interested in their thing. They were on the repo. They got on Product Hunt, everything. And then it's like, and now we're going to talk about another trademark infringement of the WordPress logo, and from Bluehost and all of that. Okay. Right. So, well, I mean, they're not the only one. Listen, I'm watching basketball, right? So, yeah. So I'm watching basketball, and on my league pass for NBA.com on my Prime Stick, Fire Stick, should have been called a Prime Stick. Missed opportunity. So anyway, what happens is you see real commercials.
Oh,
we skip commercials now, but I like commercials because I want to see what people are doing.
Right.
Because I'm a marketer. And sure. And even when I'm watching YouTube on my TV now, I see commercials for elegant themes that they're the best WordPress builder. Bluehost advertises on TV too about WordPress. So it's pretty tricky to not talk about the fact that you're a WordPress plugin without using the trademark. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like how you talk about the big game.
Right.
Well, oh no, you can't talk about that either. You can't talk about the bowl. You can't talk about the big games. The same with the Olympics. You can't talk about the rings or the games, or there's all of these terms that are trademarked, and it's pretty hard to write about or co-brand or co-market with those things unless you have permission to use that. So instead of relying on search ads and things like that, and wasting your money like Adrian Toby was, You got to stay top of mind all the time. So
Yeah.
can I tell you a story about yesterday?
You should.
Yesterday, I mean, I could talk this for 2 hours on this subject, but yesterday specifically, somebody DM'd me because I'm the too available girlfriend that nobody values, and says, "Hey, Bridget, what's a timer that I can use for productivity?"
Oh,
And,
yeah.
oh my gosh, I've seen so many. But there was one in particular, I couldn't remember it. I could not remember it for hours. And you know how I fixate on things like that. I was like, why don't I remember this? This is pissing me off. So I wrote it back. I'm like, hey, Brett, I can't remember what it was. I don't use a timer. I block my time. Like that's not how I work. You know, like, it's like my work isn't that nature. I mean, right. So to have the meter running. And so anyway, I go on social media, right? I'm just doing my Facebook thing, commenting on other pages, and there's a blog post by Rescue Time. Dag nabbit, that was what I was trying to remember.
Yep.
Okay. Now, first of all, I haven't seen their stuff on Twitter.
Oh.
Right? So that's why I can't remember Rescue Time. They're one of my favorite productivity blogs. I love Rescue Time. But I saw it on Facebook. Had I not seen that, like, I'm not saying that they lost a customer, but people forget. They like to measure what's happening. They like to measure this because you can see what's happening. You know, you could take an oscilloscope, right? Timular is another one. Thanks, Rhonda. But oh yeah, she did the block thing. See, I forgot about that too.
Right.
She was on the episode. I was at her house watching a video, and I go, oh, that's the block thing, but I still forgot about it. Why? They're not at the top of my mind. So we're always we're so focused on what's in front of us, what we can touch, what we can see, what we can measure, right? So you can measure this podcast in a lot of different ways, by downloads, people who listen to it live. You can, analyze the video. You can get an oscilloscope out and, try to figure out what's the frequency? What do people drop off? Is it when we get tired and we start talking in a monotone? And da 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 da. We can measure how many times I've used my hands, right? How many times I said, right? I was editing the Otter AI, and you're like so good at that. You're so good at active listening, Jason. You're going, right? Yep. Right? Like,
and it's hard because of the fact that this is very much so an aside, but I know it's being transcribed, and so I don't need the break in between. I mean, it's nice to have a break in between long times in which someone's speaking, but those jumps between the two of them have to be super annoying for someone who's trying to to read the text instead of listening to it, or watching the captioning as well. So it's like, I don't know.
I put in paragraph breaks, but my point is you can measure certain things, right?
Sure.
But what you can't measure is how I'm feeling. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I'm thinking. You can see my face and you can measure the micro expressions, but you don't know what I was talking about before. You don't know who's DMing me now. You don't know who saw this and then remembered, oh yeah, Bridget, I need to get back to her on that quote. Right? You don't know, oh yeah, is Jason Tucker still building websites, or what is going on with them? Like, you don't know unless you ask, and people say, oh yeah, I heard your podcast and that's why, right? You send an email out and then you don't get enough clicks, but then you send another email out and you get a response. Did you get the response because you would have gotten the response anyway, or did the email before prime the pump?
Right.
A lot of things that actually matter aren't measured, but being top of mind is one of those brand awareness things. This is why we have billboards, and this is why people advertise. I mean, Qatar Airlines advertises at the Brooklyn Mets Stadium.
Wow.
Why? there must be a large Arab population in where? Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Because it's not for TV. It's not for me watching it in San Antonio.
Right. I mean, usually it's like, at those venues, there's essentially like green screens behind the plate and all that stuff. And then the green screens just get dynamically thrown in there.
But I mean, even the banners around the whole, like whether it's a basketball court, I mean, there is Wrigley Field.
Yeah, it means that they value the people that actually physically go to the event as well as the people that watch, and so you have to kind of make your decisions because like everything behind the plate is only going to be shown on the TV. They're not. It's not going to be shown. In the people in the stands that are standing behind it. It's that or sitting behind it. That's not how that works. So they're smart enough to know how to kind of make those things and be in the places that they need to be. It's like when Coca-Cola and not Pepsi as much, I guess, but Coca-Cola is literally everywhere. Like there's, you go through, you've seen it in movies where like the traveler's driving through Africa and there's a monster sized billboard that's literally painted on the side of a barn or whatever that says Coca-Cola on it. And there's not a Coke to be found anywhere around that little part of it. There's probably a store down the street or whatever. But it's that brand exposure and having that exposure, and it keeps you at top of mind and makes it so like, oh yeah, I do need something to drink, and hopefully that drink that you're going to end up getting, it may be water, but it's probably going to be Coke, because you just thought about that as your last thing that you saw.
Yeah, but maybe it's the water that's owned and distributed by Coca-Cola.
Right. Exactly.
Or Minute Maid.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not making Tab anymore. That dates me. But that's the thing. You can't measure brand awareness. You can only pay for eyeballs.
Yeah.
That's impressions. Billboards, that's being at a word camp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any kind of advertising, I pay for the shirt of my own. I'm not going to sell my swag. That is a weird trend right now.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Like Fast Company, not Fast Company. They're like, oh, if you respond to this tweet with something, 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 you get a $5 off a Fast hoodie. Why would I want to buy your hoodie?
Right. Well, I think, and the thing is like, with those, you're essentially applying different little tracking methods, and I don't know if maybe they're using that as a way of determining are people really excited about our new rebrand or our new whatever. Let's offer up this stuff and see if we can do it, or marketing's just like, yeah, we don't have the money to to put out this type of thing and essentially clothe the world. But there are some of those where it's like the tracking pieces to it, which kind of gets me to like, you were talking earlier about when you go and do an ad, say like on a podcast, or you do an ad on a video, or you do an ad on any of these types of mediums, where especially if it's like you were saying earlier, if you're watching this right now, like what we're doing right now on YouTube, on your TV, it makes it very difficult to have an actionable item on there that someone can. There's nothing on the screen that says like, click here to go buy the thing. So what you have to do is make sure that you're giving them the calls to action. You make sure your web addresses are super short and super easy to actually speak, and then people are able to find them and then go click on them and then go to it. Having this stuff in the notes. So if it's the notes on a podcast, notes on a YouTube video, those are places where somebody could literally pull up their phone real quick, find it, hit it, and then go. So there's those places where like it may not look like that's like the best place to go and put this because there's nothing that you can click on the screen, but you're now on YouTube. Your link is now on YouTube in the description. Your link is now on a podcast that you can't get to. I get so many, Bridget, and this isn't me just saying this in with, in like grandeur or whatever, but like there's so many of these people that send me emails saying, I want to have my link on one of your posts. And I'm like, I didn't talk about your thing. Why would you be on my show notes? Like, I didn't talk about you. I don't even know you exist, but they want me to put you. So they value the fact that they can be in those show notes.
Well,
And all you have to do is make something cool that Bridget and I are going to notice, and we'll put you in the show notes. It's not that hard.
Or you can buy a sponsorship.
Or you could buy a sponsorship.
Which, it's pretty easy to do. It's like
Right.
not that big of a deal, right? But here's the thing. This is why radio does it the way they do. Because it's all audio based. And I feel like as podcasters, we sometimes forget the value of radio. So when I'm listening to ESPN radio, just for noise that isn't political, well, they have their own politics,
Right.
Like, oh, this guy got traded. James Harden got traded from the Houston Rockets to the Mets, and all of a sudden decided to play basketball again. Like, I was watching this year, and when he was with Houston, trying to be like support a Texas team. And then I was like, this guy sucks. All you know about him is that he has a beard, right? Not that he sucks, but like there was a lack of passion. Like, there's certain times basketball is fast, right? There's all this stuff going around, and you do your thing, and then you go to the other side, and you do your thing, you go to the other side. It's going like this. 5 people playing tennis,
Right.
And so the thing is that sometimes you're watching a game, and everybody's just standing around like the Washington Wizards. I'm like, what are you guys even doing? Okay. But so you're watching this on TV, and they're all into their branding right now, right? But so anyway, when you're listening, you only have the audio cues, right? You don't have all this. You don't have notes. If you're in your car, it doesn't matter if there's notes. You have to remember to go back and listen to it later. Right. And that's why the advertising is like LinkedIn.com/jobs. 70% of your workforce is on LinkedIn. Why are you advertising? Go to LinkedIn.com/jobs, LinkedIn.com/jobs, LinkedIn.com/jobs.
Right.
That's how you do it. Right. It's a landing page. It's like a culmination of everything we've talked about on the show for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
And that brand awareness is the key to staying top of mind. You have to be around. It's not that one thing that you're going to pay for and be like, oh, what's the ROI of this tweet? We don't have coupons, right? When you're in brand awareness, okay, when you're doing a campaign and you have coupons, that's not brand awareness. That's a campaign, because that coupon is the action. That, $5 off fast, then you know how many people pay attention to you.
Right.
So that's not brand awareness. Brand awareness is Pagely being like, sending out somebody a swag package, and they're like going, oh my gosh, they sent me a hoodie. This is so cool. And tweeting about it, making their own influencers.
Yeah.
That's brand awareness. Okay, so Rhonda is saying, I spent more than an hour looking for the name of a product you mentioned in a podcast a few months ago. I found it, shared it with a family member, and they purchased the product. See, like, I love to see you blog about the tech or tool of the week things you mentioned and other brands, products you discuss. Well, I used to make it more like a blog. I will. But that's the thing. It's like, she's right.
Yeah.
And these things are sticky.
Oh yeah. In multiple ways. Sometimes it's technology that's making them sticky, in that ad follows you everywhere. And they're, even now, like, depending on how the podcast is set up, they'll have like automatic ad insertion that happens on the podcast. So for instance, if you download the episode and then you wait like an hour and you delete it and you download the episode again, if you played it twice, you'd notice that the ads that are in there are actually going to be different ads. And depending on how like gross and sneaky the company is, or the actual advertising component to it, they may know that you live in this city and you have this type of phone, or any of those sorts of things. Really just depends on like what's going on and what have you. But like that type of stuff is the way that it starts following you around, and you start hearing a podcast and you hear that it's, somebody's selling yet another mattress, And now you go to some other website and yet another mattress is being advertised yet again. So yeah, the brand awareness thing is super huge, and it's one of those things that you do have to pay for, and you do have to pay for in multiple places. But you're covering a huge swath by doing it that way. Because
Right.
you're really making sure that people actually know what this thing is. And some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners, and some people need to read the written word. And having all three of those things happen is really what's going to make it work.
So here's the thing. Why do you think I harp on Twitter so much? It's the least expensive way to get eyeballs. Now, if you're only talking about impressions, and you only make
Right.
impressions when people see you in the feed, so you have to tweet at least once a day, And so my basic plan is just once a day, and then replying and stuff like that, right? That's not aggressive. That's just a heartbeat, right? So Rand Fishkin talked about this on one of this presentation he did from October, that people like to spend a lot of money on Google ads, Facebook ads. That's what Adrian and Toby said. Here's how not to waste $3,000 on ads. If nobody knows who you are, the ads don't work. That's like, I can sit here and go, Rand Fishkin said it of Spark Toro. Or I could just say, if nobody knows who you are, nobody's going to give a crap about seeing your ad because they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Which is
agreed.
Just common sense, right?
Agreed.
Okay. So it's like people who hashtag their name, that we don't know who you are. So therefore, nobody's going to click on that.
That one always gets me. You drive down the street and you'll see like a delivery vehicle or something. And it's not even for like, UPS, FedEx or any of that. It's like some local delivery thing. And, you see that there's a Twitter logo. There's a YouTube logo for some reason. There's like all these different logos that are on the back of their truck. And then they put their hashtag on there. And you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? But it's techno speak. It putting these things on my vehicle shows you that we're actually doing these things online. It's like, yeah, but you didn't tell me where to go. You didn't tell me how to get there. You didn't tell me why you want me to do it. Should I be sharing this? Should I take a picture of your thing and use that hashtag? Like, what's the action there? What is it that you want me to do with that? Right.
It's like advertisements on Waze. Like, you guys won't let me use it while I'm driving. Why are you advertising? During my drive. I got rid of Waze. But that's the thing. It's like, so I could not remember rescue time. This has happened to me with people too. I mean, it was a really good friend of mine, or a person I really liked anyway, back in SMMOC. And somebody was asking me, does so-and-so do such and such? And I was trying to remember her name, and I couldn't remember her name. Why? Because I'm not interacting with you online. Right. And it's not from a lack of trying.
Yeah.
And I'm not the person who's like, it's the algorithm. Twitter is against me. Facebook is against me. No, algorithms are like dogs. They do what you train them to do. So if you want to see more posts from Amy Hall, you got to go to her LinkedIn and then go look at them, because she's on LinkedIn. She's not paying attention to Twitter that much. Okay. So and that's the problem with automation.
Right.
Because whether you mean to or not, there is a tendency to forget the things that you automate, because you automated them so that you don't have to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have an alarm set for every Friday at 10:30. Means I got 15 minutes to be sitting right here.
Right.
That's my, hey, whatever you've done to your face, you're out of time. Go make your tea and sit in front of the computer. I don't have to think about it. But if we don't have a show and I'm just talking to somebody on the phone, all of a sudden my thing goes off, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't remember, I mean, that's why automation is good for a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, automating your drip after somebody buys, all that stuff is great. But automating social media means that you're not logging in and participating. There's a lot of lost opportunities. So here's another story. One of my friends is dating, and she was looking to figure out what size of a belt would a 6'4", 250-pound man wear.
I remember this one.
Yes. And so I tweeted it out. There were 3 belt companies that replied to me. Belt companies that have Twitter accounts. Belts.
Jeez.
Listen, WordPress guys and gals and non-binary people. Belts have Twitter accounts. And they are actively searching for people who are looking for what size belt. They probably have a search, what size belt in Hootsuite. I would. And then when you see that come through, you're like, hey, you know, that's probably a 40, 42. You could get this waist, you know, so you could get this belt or this belt. This one has no holes. That is my 3rd most popular tweet from the last 28 days.
That's crazy.
I had so many interactions on that.
Huh. And it wasn't even something you were looking for. Rather, it was something somebody else was looking for.
No, but people go to Twitter. Guess what happened in Texas last week?
What's up?
We lost power, the whole state. Okay.
I didn't notice that. No one even tweeted about it once. Just kidding.
No, but the city, okay, so we had a boil water notice that I heard from listening to the city council meeting, and I tweeted it out. An hour later, we got the text alert. 10 hours later, it's called SAWS, San Antonio Water System. My SAWS tweeted out that we have a boil notice. So a resident of the 7th largest city in the United States tweeted this information out before our text alert system and before the water system. Okay. Yeah. So who's got the top tweet now?
Right.
And this is the lesson. This is the blue ocean. Big brands automate because they hire big agencies that love big metrics and want to do a bunch of stuff without humans touching it. So there is a huge opportunity still, all these years later. I mean, I've been using Twitter since 2007. Oh, you never got the text, Rhonda? That's crazy. Yeah, I texted Rhonda and said there's a boil notice. I mean, that's kind of important information, that the water that's coming out of your faucet is not suitable for drinking.
And it's tough when, like, you know, you now have to do those types of notices, that type of marketing, this type of way of getting the word out, when none of these folks are physically talking to each other. They're all just, you know, they have to send text messages to each other. They got to get on, you know, FaceTime or on whatever, and Zoom and what have you, to kind of talk to each other and stuff. You know, people are social distancing, people are doing all those sorts of things, and you still need to get that word out. And like you said, yeah, if you're the Joe Rando person who went and sent that tweet out, and now you essentially are the authority on this because nothing else exists, then what do you do? And hopefully, the person running that Twitter account over at, you know, at that organization was like, oh, okay. For one, let's start replying to these, you know, these tweets that this person's putting in this thread. 2, let's make sure that whoever responded to that initial tweet, they're getting responses from an authority that can actually talk about it. And, you know, you got to have all that in place. And if it's just some robot that's like spitting out stuff, essentially reading from like a JSON or RSS feed and just spitting stuff out onto Twitter, that thing is not going to be responding to anybody because it's just broadcasting and that's it.
Exactly. And not even efficient broadcasting. So
Right.
right after that, Rhonda tweeted to them and said, hey, Bridget trains social media teams, brand awareness. Scott Kroom was like, oh, I wonder if there's a resident who lives in our city and has books on, is a published author, brand awareness, right? So it's not about like, oh, Bridget's so great. I mean, I am, but that's not the point. The point is, in our space, in WordPress development, there is such an opportunity to be that person, right? To be just even spending an hour a day, whether, because when you spend that time in Post Status or WordPress Slack or your local WordPress group Slack, that's a closed system. And I'm not saying that that isn't good. It is good. It's networking. It's important. But first of all, tweets are indexed by Google. I mean, I just don't know how many times I need to say this. Go search for something and see the tweets.
Yeah.
Chinese New Year. Oh, these are the most popular tweets. As a carousel. Okay.
Right.
I'm getting Google alerts for my own tweets.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have an opportunity, not as a belt company, but as a plugin developer. Hey, we have a solution that you might like, or, oh my gosh, or just being human, like, oh man, it's so hard. Like if there was if Timular or Rescue Time were more active on Twitter and somebody asked me, then I would say, oh yeah, it's this person, right? Just like, oh, what do you do? How do you develop locally? Desktop server. They've been top of mind since 2015 for me.
Yeah.
Right? 5.5 years, desktop server. Right? And because they are part of the community. Now they're not tweeting that much, but they're sponsoring this.
Right.
But here's the other thing about what happens. So, and you and I have had these conversations about being top of mind. And I'll go, oh yeah, so-and-so said such and such. And you'll be like, are they still in business? That is what you never want somebody to ask. Right. This is literally why I started tweeting for Riggins Construction in 2009.
Yeah.
Because in that economy, with all of us going on with construction and even our peers, people were closing shop, getting fired, laying off, people weren't in business. I was like, that was literally the reason why. I want people to know that even though we've been around since 1977, we're not Luddites and we're still in business. So even just that, it's the same with why does Google want you to publish consistently? They want to know that you're still in business. They're going to send people to your website if you haven't published in 2 years. Like even Chris Lemma just did a tweet where he was like, he had stopped blog. He used to blog every day, and they would stop doing that. I don't know, maybe he had work to do or something. Imagine that. And he started blogging every day, or publishing every day, I should say. Whatever. The nerds will be like, blogging isn't a verb. Yeah, it is. Publishing every day. And the chart was like low, 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 and then like this.
Wee.
And he's like, oh, Google remembered me. Because Google, Bing, Yahoo, whoever, it's their job to give you good results. They're like your secretary.
Yeah.
They don't get money from Google Ads if they don't give you good results. They get fired. Right? So now Chris is tweeting more and people are talking about him more because guess what we don't have right now? WordCamps.
Yes.
So all of us who used to go around speaking and traveling and speaking, that was our brand awareness. So
stay top of mind, make it so people remember you. Make sure you're speaking about, relevant things that are happening in the, here and now. I mean, there's all of that. Even like, so for instance, like going back to like Chris's stuff, like Chris has both evergreen content as well as as well as like not evergreen, not, I wouldn't say it's like old content, but it's just like he's reporting on a particular subject matter. Like here's a new plugin that just came out. Well, it's no longer new 2 years from now, but those things are things that people still find. They're still doing a Google search. They're looking for, product name review, product name coupon, product name, blah, 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 whatever those are.
Headphones.
And it just, yep. And they're trying to find that stuff. And so they're going to land on those pages because other people have gone to that page. Google's smart enough to know, X number of people have gone to this page. It could have been years ago. It could have been whatever, but it's still relevant content. And it's not something that it's like he's only speaking about, new things that are happening or something like that within that post. So, with all that being said, having it so that people are able to, read about the things that you're doing, be able to interact with the things that you're doing, like those things are really important. And I have a friend who she has this, I don't even know enough about it because she never posts about it. But she has this blog that she does, and I think she also does like video stuff with it as well. But I saw her one time because someone asked her like, oh well, I don't follow that particular piece of content on Facebook or on YouTube or whatever, so I don't know that it's happening. But I never see you actually post anything about it. And her excuse was she didn't want to bombard people with the stuff that she's putting out there. And I'm like, if you're putting out, like, everyone has their personal brand, them being a person, doesn't have to be a brand, but like them being a person, and then the thing that they do. And for me, it may be multiple things. For you, it's multiple things. So it's like, because of those, you don't have to bombard people with all the information that you're doing over and over and over again. But you got to at least tell them every month, every 6 weeks, something, just say, hey, personal brand. Hey, just let you know, I'm still doing things over here, just in case. It's also, it's also important to have a name behind the thing that's happening, and it's really cool to kind of see that. I was listening on TikTok last night. The person who does the the canned announcements for Walmart, she's on TikTok. And she was talking about how, because her voice is being broadcast in every Walmart throughout the country, and she was talking about how regional her voice could be if she tried. And so she apparently did, I think it was like, let's see, it was an area that was very Hispanic, so she called it Walmart. Like whatever the pronunciation is that colloquially, that's the way that they say it. And so she put this out there. The Walmart folks found out about it, and they were like, we need them to say it the way that they're saying it in the store. So now she re-recorded a bunch of videos or audios of her saying these announcements, saying the very regional name of the thing. And now when you walk into the store, you're hearing it the way that everyone else is hearing it, or everyone else is talking about it, regionally. So it was really neat to kind of see like that sort of, way of approaching it, which also means, for us to take that, to have that as a takeaway, is that if you were to customize these different things that you're doing for the region that you're working in, for the people that are listening to it. So for instance, our show here, we may be talking about this as marketing for WordPress folks, but we could spin this entirely and talk about it as marketing for something else that
We've
can
already
use
talked
WordPress.
About belts, the government.
We can go right. So you can work it different ways, and it's available. It's something that can be used for those folks, and that's where, like, for instance, if you had a blog post that was very targeted for a specific channel, specific vertical, you could then, repurpose that and turn it into yet something else that could be for, like you're saying, belts. It could be like, somebody who's tall, somebody who's short, somebody who's big, somebody who's little, and kind of work that magic.
You know what I would do? Like if I okay, so this is what people don't understand about social media too. It's not just like saying it. So that's the listening part, because people are always tweeting and stuff. So right. if I were the social media manager for one of those belt companies, I would have been like, hey guys, this is great insight, right? Because you're boots on the ground, you're like a spy. right? And so what I would do is I'd go, can we make, I know it can be done with like JavaScript or something, right? Can we make a calculator on our site to estimate so that people can buy? Because now we know women are buying gifts for their husbands, and like, so what, what's his inseam? What's his weight? What's his this? What's his that? And we can estimate what it is and give you a guarantee that if you get the wrong size, we will exchange it for free.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I have no idea if they do, but are you kidding me? When my friend asked me that, that's the first thing I looked for. I looked for a belt calculator and I could not find it. And that is why I went to Twitter. That's what people don't understand. People go to Twitter when they can't find things.
Yeah.
And that is a huge market research. People ask me, like, I have a friend that wants to do a plugin for Twitch, and she was talking to me about it, and she goes, "What do you think? What do you think?" I'm like, I don't know about the gamer people, but then now I keep seeing, DJs are on Twitch. Sent her the DM, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Whoa, that's amazing!" And I'm like, "See, that's the thing. It's like, you don't know what you don't know."
Right. It's true.
And how much is that worth? I do this for all of my clients. And because I do it for my friends too. I'm like, they're talking about podcasting. Go reply to this. I do it with you. I do it with Russ. I do it with Lauren. Jen Miller finally gets on Twitter. If you see Jen Miller tweeting, it's because I send her stuff. I'm like bugging Rhonda like 5 times a day, trying to get her all passionate.
I have one other quick little story about, and I've been watching tons of TikTok as of late, and one in particular is, and you'll see this because these are sometimes people turn into memes on TikTok. So it's like they're pulled in all the time for these things, and then they do duets and whatever with them. So one in particular was, there's a guy who it's almost like the carnival game where you have to like guess your weight, guess your height. And so this guy can figure out how tall you are just based on a video. So if you go like, if I walk back here and it was zoomed out enough and I stood there for a minute and did something, you could say, hey, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell me how tall I am? And he will go through and figure out like what the dimensions of particular things are, like this hat, a hat is a standard size and this and this and da, 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 and he does all the math. And then he's like, oh, you're 6'2". So that belt company could go to this guy and be
so
like,
cool.
Okay, but this tall guy or this guy that figures out heights,
right?
I want you to figure out belt sizes.
Right.
Like there could be something like that,
Yeah. I mean, why not innovate?
Those are the,
but you get that insight. You're doing the brand awareness, right? But you're also getting the insight.
Yeah.
And that's what a good social media manager will do. I'm not trying to pitch my services, but like if you're hiring somebody, I can't do everybody's Twitter, okay? And I only have a spot for maybe 1 or 2 more people. But my point is, don't just go to Twitter to talk about yourself. Go there to also learn. Right? Because then you can engage with them, and then that lifts your brand awareness even more. Now, do I remember any one of those 3 belt companies?
I know one was Mission.
I don't remember any of those belt companies.
Because I get those ads all the time.
But that's the thing. I interacted with them that day, and that is it. So I'm not going to be able to tell you what belt companies they were. So they're not at the top of my mind. Yeah. You have to keep going. Just like you consistently publish, you have to, and the right now, people think nonprofits are, the donors aren't donating. The trend I just saw for nonprofits when I was doing some research yesterday is actually the top 10% of donors are donating more. You just don't know who they are. They don't know who you are.
Oh boy.
Okay. You have to market. Market means getting your name out there consistently. And the best bang for your buck is social media if you do it right. Right. And so when you're in your meetings with your social media people, you should be asking them for insight. I am constantly giving my clients insight. Like my friend Kyle, his husband has infinity pools here in Texas, in San Antonio. Isn't that funny? And I'm
Huh.
like, so anytime I see something really cool about spendy homes in San Antonio, I
Right.
am texting Kyle so that
Huh.
because he does the marketing for it, right?
Yeah.
And so like, hey, you want to? And he's like, oh yeah, I forgot about the parade of homes. You don't forget about them. You can't. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
because you just think it's not going to happen.
Right.
But you still have to be out there. In fact, I would say you have to be out there more.
Yeah. I mean, especially if you're working in the region that you're operating in, man, you have a leg up on everyone else who's essentially faking it. They're all pretending that they're, operating out of that place. But if you're like, yeah, but you know what? The best pizza place down the street, this is the best place to go. And by the way, we redid their pool. Like the owner's pool, we redid their pool. Like you tie that piece in however you can do it to kind of bring it all back together again. If you wanted to kind of build that story to be able to, to make that pizza place relevant to your pool repair business or your pool
Or
installation
even
business or
like,
whatever.
hey, we do a lot of work in this neighborhood, and this was voted #1, Trilogy Pizza.
Right.
Actually, their Chicago pizza is amazing in San Antonio. You're welcome. That was free brand awareness. But that's what I'm saying. It's like you want people to talk about you, and that means you have to stay top of mind. You have to do it top of mind all the time. Top of mind all the time. You must. And the only platform that tolerates that kind of volume as a culture, because platforms are cultures, is Twitter. But every month I'm on Facebook talking about one of my books every single month. Because you know what? Y'all should buy it. Okay. It's good. It's like, first of all, it's really good. And also I've been buying your Girl Scout cookies, sending your kids to missions, donating to your causes, and buying your leggings and Pampered Chef for how many years now? Right. But I can't be like, oh, my book was out. Oh, that was so October. No. You have to tell people, they forget. Yeah. It's not your job. It's not people's jobs to remember what your plugin is.
Yep.
It's your job to remember. Yoast has a podcast right now, and they had an episode where Yoast, the person, Yoast of talked to Rand Fishkin. I love Rand Fishkin. I mean, Yoast is nice too. He's my friend.
Yeah.
But Rand Fishkin is a no BS guy. I fell in love with his Whiteboard Fridays. He's no BS. It's not all blobbity bloop. It's just like, hey, this works or it doesn't. Here you go. Try this. So that's my segue to my tool or tip.
Yeah. What is your tool or tip of the week, Bridget?
If you're not getting insight from your social media manager, which maybe have a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did at Give. Like I would try stuff, and then me and Jason Cannell would talk, and he'd be like, hey, this is really working. And then he would double down on it with ad spend. Hello. Anyway.
Right.
So if you're not getting insight from your social media marketing person, or you don't have the budget for some reason for a social media marketing person, which is another question that you need to have with yourself, then try sparktoro.com, Toro like a bull, Spark, SPARKTORO.com. And for those who are only listening while they're driving in San Antonio, Texas, it's sparktoro.com.
Pull over and look it up real quick.
SPARK Toro, like the bull. Okay, so they didn't pay me for that. But anyway, it's Rand Fishkin. When he left Moz, this is what he started. And
okay.
They give you 10 free searches. I did one from my realtor friend, Kyle, my clients. I'm like Steve Zengit. My clients are my friends.
Right.
But anyway, you can see like who you should be paying attention to, and what if you want to do some market research without, just really quick or whatever, and yeah, and then you can find who to follow and all that kind of stuff. So if you're not good at searching on Twitter and all that, you create a free account, and they give you 10 searches. I already used one. And the pricing is a little more spending than anything I'm willing to do. Plus, also, this is what I do for a living. So that's why I niche in WordPress. That's why I have that low price, that entry level price of $300 a month, because I'm already in Twitter. So you might as well. But
this definitely ramps up pretty quick.
38 a month gives you 30 searches a month and the top 50 results, which is pretty good. But if you're an agency, right?
Oh yeah.
So I hate this is a price anchoring thing that pisses me off. Don't tell me what the monthly price is if you bill annually. You're
right.
Dick. I love you, but also you're a dick.
I mean, they're charging quite a bit more by doing monthly versus annual.
Well, that's
that's the price secret. Yeah.
No, but that's I get that, right?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, so it pays to buy in bulk,
Definitely.
So I think it is, if you're an agency, this is a really good idea. If you if you want to do a bunch of quick research for your product, or if you want to start niching out in your WordPress development and like only do naturopaths or something like that, or only don't do travel agencies. They're too cheap. No, seriously, there were some realtors, no offense, but also it's true. So like, if you want to, do like, Brian up in Canada, he does plastic surgeons.
Right.
So, I mean, you can niche out, right? If I say niche out doesn't sound as good as, pick your niche.
Yeah.
The riches are in the niches. That doesn't really rhyme, but whatever. Pick a demographic and stick with it. It doesn't mean you don't do other people's work. Like 25% of my revenue has nothing to do with WordPress. Sorry, but I have to keep the lights on.
So my tour tip is not, I'm going to give you two different ones to look at, because it really doesn't matter which one you use. And when I show you this, you'll go, oh yeah, I've heard of both of these. So what it is it's a sharing app. You need to have at least one of these installed on your computer. I don't care which one it is. It could be Droplr, which is DROPLR. The other one is Cloud App. Either one of these.
I haven't heard of either one of them.
Have one of these installed, and I'll tell you why. So I was working through some issues on a website that I was attempting to launch as of yesterday, and I needed to talk to the support folks of the theme that we were using, and I was running into a whole bunch of issues, and it was really difficult for me to like show in screenshots what this thing is. Like, what is it that I'm having a problem with? So Droplr, as well as Cloud App, and that's like Cloud App. Both of those are a way for you to be able to go and like click on. It gives you a little menu item on your computer. You can also download the app on your phone. And what it does is it gives you this little menu item, and when you go and click on it, it lets you either upload a file, do a screenshot with markup. You could do I'll show on the screen here. It lets you do a whole bunch of different things with content that you're going to share. So these are very sharing focused kind of setups here. And so once you go in, I'll share the desktop here. Here we go. So once you go up here and you go click on this up on the top, you get a whole list of things that you can do. So like I said, upload a file, take a screenshot and actually draw on it with markup. You can do a screencast in HD. You can do a screencast that makes a little animated GIF or GIF, depending on if you're incorrect. And then you also have plugins. You also have this whole more section where you can do like a markdown note, code snippet, shorten a link, take your clipboard, any of those sorts of things. So what it does is it takes this, and then you can take one of these files and upload it. Like for instance, I recorded something kind of explaining how something works. No, because it's my screen. Sorry.
Oh.
my screen's this size. So anyhow, there's these things down on the bottom here, right? And so these are all the things that I've shared in the past. And so what you can do is you can click on one of them and it will take you to a page. So it'll look like this.
I didn't realize it was your whole screen. I thought it was an app.
Oh no, it's a whole screen.
Program.
So you end up with a page like this, and you've seen other pages like this. If somebody's ever sent you one of these links, so there's a download button. You can go and click on this, and it'll actually like play the video of explaining how to, whatever it is I'm trying to do.
Oh.
And I'm actually talking. You can't hear it, but I'm actually talking, explaining to the technical support person, hey, here's how this works, and here's what I'm having problems with, and so on and so forth. So once you do that, it gives you a link. You can take that link and then put it in the support email that you're sending to support that says, here's the video I recorded. So now you don't have to go and upload the video to YouTube and then link over to a YouTube video that you're essentially throwing away. So these are good for throwaway type of things where you're just like, if I wanted to share with you a quick little video, I can click on this. I can say, I want to do a screencast in HD video. So I'll click on it. I'm going to pick this, the section that I'm going to tell it to do the recording in. I'm going to hit record on the bottom. I'm going to record. Now it's asking me about cameras and it's asking all sorts of stuff. Anyhow, I can record my video and do all my stuff over here. And then when it's done, it will take the file and upload it, and it'll show up on the top here. It'll say it'll be uploaded, and then it'll show up as one of these new entries here. You can click on it, click share, and then put it, send a text message to somebody, send it as an email, send it as whatever.
Gosh,
the reason awesome. Why this is an important thing to have in your tool belt is that when you're interacting with support folks, those support folks typically have a system that may end up stripping out attachments.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So if you go and take a screenshot and then attach it to the email, that person's probably going to send this email to their boss, their second tier and third tier support. They're going to ask around the office. They're going to try to copy and paste it and throw it in Slack. There's going to be all these different things. And that particular piece, the one part that's actually the important piece that you spend some time recording the thing or whatever, or taking a photo of, gets lost in the shuffle. But if you have it as a link that you can then go and click on and be able to, view that content, it's much easier to work with. And so like I said, pick one of these. I don't care which one it is that you use. It doesn't really matter. I've seen Cloud App used a whole bunch with them. I've seen Droppler used a whole bunch. I use Droppler because I have a lifetime account with them that I spent quite a bit of money on, but it's one of those things where it's just never going to go away. But Cloud App has the exact same thing. They're both, if I remember correctly, they both work on Windows and Mac. So you can use it on either one of them. If you have multiple computers, you can now install it on both of them and kind of use that to kind of jump between and do all those sorts of things. So like I said, it's one of these two. There's other ones as well, but these are the two that I've used in the past, both as a consumer of them. Like you've never actually made one of these, but you've used them before by somebody sending you a link. But use one of these, have it in your tool belt. Something ever comes up, you can at least record a quick little thing, put a quick little snippet in there, and then send it over to the person. The link's a little short link, so it's nice and clean and easy to use. And there's a whole bunch of different, kind of fun ways to mess with it. So take a look at that and check them out. And let me know how it works for you. Even heck, if you want to send me one of those links, feel free to send me one of those links when you go create that little thing that you wanted to share. But it's quick and easy, and it's a good way of doing it.
That's awesome.
Bridget, it is now time. It's the end of the show.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Boom, 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 boom. Remember that show?
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you very much for all of you that are listening and watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this content, I want you to go over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review over there. Like this stuff on YouTube or wherever it is that you're watching this. And you have a good one. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Speaking of subscriptions, go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe, where you can learn how to subscribe to all this content and everything that we have going on over there. Like I said, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, we're all over the place. Feel free to go take a look at us over there. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.